Hello there again. Sleepy here, V Sleepy. It's actually a fitting name, all things considered. We're going back to play some more KSP. And Kraken Inc. just received some interesting footage from the moon. What we originally thought was an attempt to just steal the ship and steal our technology and take it somewhere else on Kerbin actually turned out that Darfel took the ship all the way out to the moon. We don't know what it's doing there. There's not enough oxygen or supplies to survive on for particularly long in that vessel, since it was only designed for an orbital trajectory. So what we're assuming happened is that he dropped a drop pod, because it doesn't appear to have any drop pods left. So the remaining drop pod landed somewhere on the moon. And because of that, there must be some other facility there, unless Darfel was totally suicidal. But we don't see anything with our telescopes. We looked pretty hard, especially after we saw the ship. But there's nothing else there, at least not on this side of the moon, which indicates that maybe there's something on the dark side of the moon. The dark side of the moon is actually an interesting phenomena that happens because the moon is tidally locked to Kerbin. Just like the Earth and the moon are tidally locked, well, the moon is tidally locked, not the Earth, obviously. What happens is the moon itself has a bulge on either side because of the gravity of Earth, and the Earth has a bulge on either side, and that's why they're called tidal bulges, because they cause the tide. But actually the rock also bulges in the same sort of way. So you get these bulges and you get the moon and Earth both shaped like eggs, and in line with that, the gravity is stronger than off-center. The force then encourages it to face only one side of the Earth at any given time. And what happens is the moon used to spin, and when it would spin, the bulge would move around the surface of it, and all the energy that it takes to crush rock and change its shape gets taken out of the rotational energy of the moon. So eventually the moon stops spinning because there's no energy left, and at that point only one side is left facing the Earth. And it won't change which side because it's egg-shaped, and to change sides you'd have to put a huge amount of force on it, and you'd have to counteract the gravitational force on the closer half more than you would the half that's further away. Tidal forces actually fall off with the cube of the distance instead of the square of the distance, like gravitational forces. So that's why tidal forces between the Earth and the Moon seem very minute, even though we're heavily gravitationally affected by each other. It's because if you're twice as far away, you get 1/4 the gravity, but only 1/8 the tidal forces, which is an interesting thing I learned in planetary science some time ago. Anyway, point beside, dark side of the moon or no, we have to go take a look at it. So we are building a little bitty probe today that is going to come with a rover attachment and will be designed to land on the moon and take detailed data of whatever we find there. We will also get orbital data from the probe itself, and hopefully we'll be able to get it close enough to the ship that wound up in orbit that Darfel stole, to see if there's any damage and see if maybe we could recover it. Or at least crash it into the moon to make sure nobody else can get it, because it's ours, and we would destroy our things before we let other people have them, because that is how Kraken Inc. rolls. Damn it. Moon probe 1. Launch attempt number 1. I hope I gave it enough fuel. And the staging's incorrect. There. Those are sort of asparagus staged. Personally, I don't really like using the fairings mod, even though I know a whole bunch of other people usually use it. It's because I like to keep the game as vanilla as possible. I mean, granted, I'm still using B9 Aerospace, but aside from that, I like to play pretty vanilla games because it gives me a chance to work with what the developers actually gave me, as opposed to just downloading a mod to fix something I don't like. I have to work around it. That's more of a challenge. That's definitely more what I prefer doing. I'm checking the staging right now. Usually I have at least one launch every frickin' time I try to do something where I do the staging wrong and I have to do it again, and it's a total mess. So hopefully I'll be able to get the staging right on the first try. We'll see. Alright, engine, decoupler. Alright, okay, there we go. We are ready for liftoff. Here we go. Alright, so far so good. I think one of these guidance systems here has an SAS in it, which I can use to keep this thing straight. Forgot to initiate the central rocket. I was wondering why I was going up so slow. Even now it's going up pretty slow. Maybe I should put a mainsail on here or something. We'll see if it... I doubt it'll get into orbit. Yeah, it's not going to make it into orbit, probably. We'll see. Alright, there's the end of the first stage. Am I going to continue accelerating? No, it's too heavy. It looks like it's too heavy. Alright, I'm going to need to add a proper SAS to this because I can do nothing with it. I can't turn it at all. This has thrust vectoring, doesn't it? I thought this had thrust vectoring. Alright, we'll try again. And here we are, coming around for our Mooner burn into a Mooner orbital insertion. Actually, somehow, look at all this debris floating past. Somehow, Darfel managed to get his ship into a retrograde orbit. I don't know how he managed to get his ship into a retrograde orbit, but he did. This is why he was a lieutenant instead of a captain. It's because he kept on doing things like putting ships in retrograde orbits. But because his ship is in a retrograde orbit, we're going to have to burn a little bit more fuel, and we're going to have a little bit less delta V for our orbital insertion. Retrograde orbits are not always that easy to get into. Sometimes you can make a mistake and wind up in one, but usually you want to be in a prograde orbit for more or less everything. I suppose being in a retrograde orbit is useful if you're dropping to a lower orbital location. So if you're going from a high location to a low location, a retrograde orbit would be nice. But the moon is pretty high up, and since we're going to the moon, a prograde orbit would be much easier for us to deal with. But whatever. Dofel is thick, and he stole our ship, so we're gonna go get it, no matter what it takes. As it turns out, his ship is in an orbit at about 30 kilometers, so we're going to try and arrange ourselves to be in a similar orbit when we get there. Again, so we can take a close look at if there's any, see if there's any damage, see if we can identify if he did anything else to it. Whoever got him to attack us, convinced him to attack us, does not know who they're dealing with, and they're probably mad at him now because we know there's something out on the moon, some sort of research facility, some kind of facility. There must be some sort of facility out there if he was willing to take a ship all the way out to the moon. So we're going to go find out what it is. after about 20 minutes of messing with it, was just to wait until you're inside the lunar sphere of influence and then burn perpendicular to the surface until you are moving in such a way that you're in a retrograde orbit. You're going to wind up on one side of the moon or the other eventually, so you just have to sort of hold your breath and hope for the best in a case like this, which is what I did. Hello, moon. You stole a ship from us, whoever you are, and we want it back. Hello? What do you have for me?
Hey, you know what?
Oh, that's the drop pod. Alright. We'll see if we can get a better look at it with our satellite in just a minute. Once we're done with the... Oh, actually, we should look at it now. See what secrets do you hold? Looks like there's a whole facility down there. We need to get ready for very absence. There's a whole facility down there, and I don't know what they're doing there. And that doesn't look like something the government of Kerbin would approve of. Of course, he's not in equatorial orbit. He's a little off kilter. Good enough. Alright, at this point we need to send our rover down to take a look at the facility as soon as we get our probe in orbit appropriately. The falloff for radiation in space, and that includes radio transmissions, is R squared, so they may or may not know that we're here. I mean, if they bounce a beam of radar off the probe itself, then they'll definitely know, but they probably won't hear any of our radio transmissions, though we should assume that they know that we're here. Space is big, but if something flies over top of you at only 50 kilometers and you have a bunch of scientific equipment with you, then you'll probably know about it. Still, on the off chance they don't know we're here, we could get lucky and be able to get in really close before they can form any sort of defensive plan. Hopefully, however, we'll be able to get full telemetry before they know that we're here. That's bad. Alright, that didn't work. Oh no. Oh, there, rover. Don't. Oh god. Alright, so that was a failure, and they know that we're here. I guess we're gonna have to rely on orbital imaging. For this Yeah, I know. We're going to have to rely on orbital imaging for this mission, so we're going to come in at a little bit less of an advantage than I was hoping before. But that's alright, we'll make it. While we're here, though, let's take a look at our ship. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, that was close. About that. Just relax. Here we go. I think we're going to offer them an option. They can either surrender and face trial back on Kerbin, where we'll go get them. We won't leave them stranded. Or they can face war. And it'll be up to them. Our ship appears to be fully functional, if empty of ordnance right now. So that's a good thing. We can use it as a fueling station if we leave somebody on it and come back, which could be very helpful if our opponent down there on the surface of the moon chooses war. Things seem to be really heating up right now between Kraken Incorporated and whoever this is. We still don't really know who they are, and we won't know until we get some of their employees or citizens, as the case may be, onto a ship so they can be interrogated. Whoever's down there, we have to find out who they are. This is a shorter episode than last time, so I hope you appreciate that. I felt like last episode was really too long. I've been cutting more out and getting better at editing things, so this one should be a bit shorter, and hopefully everything should run a bit better. So thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it.